Welcome to the Know, I'm Mica.
I'm Gus.
Are PC gamers about to see a big slowdown in their rig's performance, and could it be coming sooner than you think?
Oh boy. If you haven't heard, there's been a bit of an apocalypse in the processor world, and it could have quite an impact on PC gamers.
Yes, a major security flaw has been discovered in Intel processors that could leave a lot of popular operating systems vulnerable to hackers, which is great.
No, that's not great.
Oh, shit.
It's the opposite of great.
Right.
Microsoft and Apple are already rushing out updates to Windows and Mac OS, but there's a catch. The updates might slow down older machines as much as 30%.
Ooh, yeah, so it's a huge black eye for the largest maker of computer processors that could turn into a PR nightmare as people rush to contain the scope of the damage. And it's not just gamers that are affected. Intel processors are used in, lots of stuff, from servers to laptops.
Okay, so what happened? Well, this all started after the tech site The Register reported that Intel processors have a bug that leaves vulnerable parts of a computer's kernel memory that are set aside to protect things like passwords, which could leave the passwords of individual computers or even whole server networks vulnerable to hackers. So, pretty major flaw.
And how widespread is it, you may ask? Well, the report says that all computers with Intel chips from the past 10 years appear to be affected. Oh, and Intel chips are in more than 90% of laptops and servers, and the company has more than 80% of the market share for processors overall, so it's a fuck ton of stuff.
I like to think there's someone with a 10-year-old computer who just a couple of weeks ago decided to finally upgrade. And they're like, no! Like I told you so. It could also affect major cloud computing platforms like Google, Amazon, and Microsoft Azure, all of which are planning major security updates.
Yeah, so that's why we're using words like apocalypse, because this is potentially a really big deal. And it's rare too. Microprocessors go through a ton of testing before they're brought to market. So design flaws are very rare, and when they pop up, they're usually easily fixed with a code patch. But if that's not possible, a redesign of the chip would be extremely costly, which unfortunately might be the case here.
Dan Ives, head of tech research at GBH Insights, said the news is a potential PR nightmare, especially in the competitive world of processors. He told Bloomberg Tech they need to get ahead of this and try to contain any of the damage to customers as well as to the brand.
Needless to say, all the major software companies are rushing to update their operating systems to patch this flaw.
But when will these updates happen? Well, the Register says that Microsoft is expected to introduce a necessary fix in a patch next week. Apple's 64-bit Mac OS will also need to be patched too. Programmers are also working to patch the vulnerability for Linux.
And those fixes will bring a performance hit when it comes to Intel products. How much isn't known yet, but according to the Register, it could range from 5 to 30% slowdown, depending on the task and the processor model. Some early Linux tests have indicated that it might not have a significant slowdown, but again, this is all pretty early.
And this could end up costing Intel a lot of money. Bloomberg noted that more than 20 years ago, a college professor found a problem in the way that early Pentium chips calculated numbers. I remember this one. Intel ended up recalling some chips, and the flaw ended up costing them about $400 million.
Yikes.
20 years ago.
Yikes. This controversy is already hurting Intel's stock price. It was down more than 6% this afternoon. Meanwhile, its main rival, AMD, saw its stock price surge on the bad news. It was up more than 9% today, so you go, AMD.
That's gotta be great. It's like, why is our stock up? We didn't fuck up.
Yay!
Great. Neither Intel nor AMD commented on the story, but the Register cited an AMD employee who posted in a forum over the holidays that their chips are not affected by the issue.
Analyst Ryan Shrout told CNBC that this vulnerability will affect a tremendous number of machines and is a very valid concern. As for it affecting AMD processors or not, high-level developers have been quoted on development forums that the issue only exists on Intel platforms, and that the fix doesn't need to be enabled on AMD hardware.
So far, the exact vulnerability is being kept as a pretty closely held secret, and experts say we should be cautious.
University of Surrey Alan Woodward told the BBC it is significant, but whether it will be exploited widely is another matter.
Meanwhile, national cybersecurity groups said they're working on patches and monitoring the situation.
The UK's National Cybersecurity Centre said we are aware of reports about a potential flaw affecting some computer processors. At this stage, there is no evidence of any malicious exploitation, and patches are being produced for the major platforms.
So, what's the best advice? Stay up to date on your latest patches and install them as soon as possible.
Yeah, that goes for me. I keep clicking that ignore thing when it pops up on my Mac. I should probably get to that. And as for how this will affect PC gamers and their machines' performance, we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully this won't require a complete recall of Intel chips, and it's something that can be fixed with a software patch. Otherwise, Overwatch is gonna suck. This could get worse.
It's not going to be fixed by a software patch. It's going to be awful. What do you guys think of the Intel processor apocalypse? Let us know in the comments.
And if you want us to call it Intel Processor Lips, also for all of your PC processor news, especially the gaming side of things, be sure to like this video. And if you're new around here, subscribe to the Know. Please ignore our processor lips.
I'm so ashamed of you.
I'm so ashamed of myself.
Microsoft and Apple are already rushing out updates to Windows and OS X. It's Mac OS now. So this could also affect major cloud computing platforms like Google, Amazon, and Microsoft Azure, all of which are still, or the exact vulnerability is being kept as pretty close. I don't know why I fucked up there. I stumbled on vulnerability and it got in my head.